So we'll go ahead and officially get started. I don't have any kind of agenda, but we'll start by answering, just some of the most common questions. For one, we're not in a van right now.
Yes, I know that.
We're doing this all through Airbnb and Furnish Finders type stuff. We talked about that in previous videos, but that's probably the most common question anytime we're telling anyone that we're traveling for a year. They always want to know how we're doing it. So that's that. What else? Something that was more off the wall that someone asked me more recently was, how do you manage to be out there and not be just eating out every night? They're like, my budget would just be wrecked by that. I don't think I would have the willpower to not. I was like, it helps to have a partner in that area, so that we can kind of help hold each other accountable. Was my main answer. That and just trying to be more conscious of eating healthy while still doing some, experiencing wherever we're at as we're traveling too.
That's good.
Do you have any other?
For those who don't know, we were in Nashville. That's where our home base was, but we uprooted everything, moved it to the parents and the in-laws, and so we're just living out of our SUV and going to the Airbnbs. And our first destination has been Florida. So
yeah, we're in Florida. That's a good thing to call out.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yes, I'd like to go to visit. Yeah, I'd like to go to Florida.
Yeah, Florida in February seemed like a pretty good choice. And it has been pretty good. There was one day that it was raining. It got a little cold, but we couldn't complain because all my coworkers were like, there's a bunch of snow outside. I'm just like, I'm sorry.
Yes. If I was in the US at this time of the year, I think Florida would be, I've got a visitor. Sorry, I'll be back in a minute.
So what's your next destination, Sarah and Josh?
Yeah, so next up, things totally got derailed. We were going to go back to Tennessee for next month, and the place we were going to stay, we were talking to them, they were going to be great, and they're like, yeah, we'll check again at the end of the month. And so we checked again at the end of December, and then at the end of January. And then finally, they're like, yeah, it's not going to work out. So then we got to scramble to find somewhere. So, but yeah, that next stop has ended up being Lynchburg, Virginia.
Oh, my.
Very different than we expected and much longer driving than we expected, but it'll be good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Saturday we have a 13-hour drive. So.
Wow.
Whoa, that's a long ways. Yeah. Well, with the SUV, it's a lot easier than an RV.
Yeah.
How long are you going to stay there?
We'll be there for the month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. So, what is it that you guys so far learned? Just let's say you've been gone for like a week now, 2 weeks.
So
three and a half. Yeah.
Okay. What is the biggest?
This whole month in Florida, but it was in 2 different spots in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay. What is it that you found out? It's like, oh no, we didn't think of this.
That's a great question. I think it's been mostly okay.
Yeah. Honestly, the biggest conundrum was our first spot didn't have really great internet. And so because of our jobs, that was our biggest hurdle. So we ended up finding a co-working place, which is basically like a building with a bunch of little offices, and locals come in and use it. And they were really nice. They gave us a great deal, like a family coupon kind of thing. And then it was a great way to meet people. We ended up playing board games with them one night. They gave us a lot of recommendations to do in the area. So I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Okay. So is it like a house or a building, like a big building, small building?
The co-working space. So it was like a kind of a downtown area strip little business.
Okay.
And in that, something like that.
Yeah.
It was right next to like a small little restaurant.
How much does it cost to get in one of those to do work? Like,
it ranges a lot, is what we learned, because so they're technically all the one that we were at was independent owned, but it was part of a larger group, and like for us, it was only like $40 for both of us for the month,
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's cheap.
which was fantastic. What were they? They were charging what, $15 a day, the same place,
Yeah. If you did like a day pass, it's $15, but
right?
$40
so
for the
40
month.
for the month. That was no issue. And what you found one here?
Yeah.
What was the prices here?
$150 to $250 a month.
Yeah.
Wow.
It can range a lot, but we definitely found that if where we were going to need one, that was the place to need one.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you guys think of Starlink to get one and for travel?
Yeah.
That way you always have that?
We thought about that a lot. I think that probably would have been mostly okay, but it's a lot of a upfront cost that we weren't necessarily willing to go to.
Yeah. Yeah.
When we knew most places, especially if we ask about it, should be able to accommodate what our needs really are. And this second stop has been great. We've had no issues. I mean, Sarah had that whole conference that she just ran, and she was doing that while I was in video calls and
Wow.
didn't have any issues at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as we just make sure we know what we're getting into, and there's been some places that we've asked the host beforehand, and then the response back, we were like, okay, that's not going to work. The case with that, where we were at in Panama City Beach, was that we asked and we didn't get a response before the payment was due.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of knowingly went through it. And then we finally got the response after we had paid. And he's just like, oh, it's fast. And that,
Okay.
so we're being,
Yeah.
we know to be a little bit extra cautious about that. That was one thing I guess we did learn.
Yeah. Just ask a lot of questions.
Ask the questions. You know, it's have help. Hopefully they understand. Like, our goal is to be working, and our work means we're doing things like this. Potentially, we're both doing things like this at the same time, which does
Yeah.
mean a little bit more than
Yeah.
more than the minimum speed that most places would grant.
And some of them have been nice enough to offer, like, this is our speed, but if that doesn't work, we'll work with you to upgrade to whatever you would need.
Okay.
Well, and that host at the last place tried to do something too, but
Yeah.
he was using
Yeah.
that mobile hotspot essentially, so there wasn't much he could do.
Uh-huh.
So.
Yeah.
Are you guys trying out local churches in these towns, or?
Yeah, so we've done different things. We're still kind of figuring out what that looks like. Again, this was especially just a weird month because it had to get split. But we found a church in Panama City that we went out on Sunday morning, and then we were trying to figure out what to do the next week. Sarah was participating in a conference that was kind of making it going to be hard to get to church, but the same place we'd already went had just started a newer Monday night service. So we ended up just going back to the same place there. Here, we actually only had one Sunday. So we just went to one. Obviously, can't go to many churches when you're only here for the one Sunday. So we went to one that worked out pretty well. It was an earlier service than we maybe would have preferred.
Oh my goodness. This Sunday, the service was at 8:00, and I think we just went to bed super late. So like at 7, the plan was
And it was a 20-minute drive.
20-minute drive.
Oh
We-
boy.
So we were thinking when we leave at 7:15, it's supposed to be on the beach. It's gonna be amazing.
There had been a lot of thought that went into deciding which one to go to.
Yeah. And then 7:30 rolls around and Josh is like, the alarm didn't go off. We scrambled out the door anyway, and we showed up a little bit late, but it was too cold for them there. We're like, this is beautiful weather. It was too cold, so they had a tent next to some building with
they had a partnership, I think, with some restaurant there that had some outdoor seating that is closed Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
So they would, because they had 2 services at that campus, but the first one was supposed to be like on the beach, but when it was too cold, and then their later service was always in that tent.
Yeah. And the heater was blasting, but it was really interesting because you could tell it was definitely a service designed for people who maybe don't have a connection with church. They gave just a lot of tools to like help you get acquainted. So that was cool.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it remains to be seen what happens next month if we try a couple, we find one and stick to it.
Yeah. But
You kind of check them out before you get there. You check
Before
out
we
the
pick one,
churches.
not necessarily before we get there. Have you started looking at what we're doing next? No.
no, but maybe on our 13-hour drive.
Right. So during the drive,
Yeah.
we'll start figure out what we'll
They
do.
watch the coffee.
So, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. 8 o'clock? That's way too early. That's almost before God wakes up. I mean,
Yeah.
11 o'clock sometimes to me, it's like, oh, why didn't you go just for 12? And that way we get out and go have lunch. Yeah.
That's kind of how our first one worked out. We had a couple that we were interested in, and then we're like, we need breakfast. And then when we finished breakfast, like one service had already started. So we're like, this one's 15 minutes and it's only 2 minutes up the road. So that's how we found our first one. So yeah. But, yeah. Nope. So
When did Christian Travelers Network begin? What year? How long has it been in operation?
So, like, the idea started maybe 2018, but like the membership part probably 2020.
Okay.
Yeah. Or more. Well, we started building it. It took about almost 2 years to build it, and then and 2023, I think we opened the doors really for the first time.
I was
Wow.
one of the first ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't wait. It's like, come on. Gee.
Any other? What else we got? Question wise.
Are you enjoying this crazy
Yeah.
adventure so far?
So far, it's been good. I at least am excited to kind of get back to that little bit slower pace when we actually are somewhere for that full month. This has been a lot because with only 2 weeks, you get somewhere, you spend a week getting used to it, and then you spend the next week getting ready to leave. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like what's happening.
After you made friends, then you gotta leave them.
That too. So yeah, I think we'll get a much better sense for how things are going to look next month.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm excited for that.
Okay. I pray both of you have a safe trip. I know God let his angels keep watching we both of you.
Yeah, same man.
Thank
So
you.
how about food? Do you guys eat out a lot, or are you trying to do like wherever you are? I don't know if you have any something to.
We're trying to still be very conscious just of how we're treating our bodies in that way.
Uh-huh.
Because one thing that we, I mean, it's going to happen at some point because it's a year-long trip, but we're trying to not get sick.
Yeah.
Right.
That's one of those weird fears that I have is just like, what happens when we get sick? Because like,
Yeah.
we just don't have any of our normal places that we're accustomed to. And,
Yeah.
what if it happens when, we're supposed to be traveling 13 hours and someone's stopping every 10 minutes. You're like, what are we going to do? So that's,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been worried about that at all,
That
but
hasn't
now you
crossed
will.
my mind.
So
Yeah.
there's a little bit of that, and we're just, we're trying to keep our options open to do other activities, like go to Shell Island, and so we're trying not to go out too much for food wise, but we do still want to experience some of the cuisine. Although so far I've had a coworker that has spent a lot of times in both places that we've spent, and he suggested donut shops at both of them and said these are must-visit donut shops. Of course, I didn't really complain about a must-visit donut shop. So there's that.
I like you.
Yeah. And then also, I'm paleo, or I eat paleo diet. Josh has kind of started dipping his toe in it, and he's also been like a huge help with meal planning and prep. He's been helping us find some recipes that we both enjoy. So
What's
we've been doing-
paleo? I didn't. I've heard about it, but I don't know exactly what it is.
So it's no grains, no dairy. It's pretty much just meat and vegetables.
All
So
right.
It's not quite carnivore, Helen, but it's closer, I guess.
Yeah, that's very close. I'm glad you started that. That's very good.
Yeah. So
Yeah, so that's kind of helped too.
Yeah.
'cause
Okay,
it's
Leo,
all
yeah.
then a lot of places that you would try to go, maybe harder to get something
Yeah.
there. Although
Yeah.
we've learned the workarounds.
Yeah.
Uh,
I finally feel like I can figure out if we have to go out to eat, like, a build your own burrito or like a burger place, but get it on a salad. Like there's other workarounds. So
Yeah.
The other struggle that goes along with that is, especially because again these have been shorter trips, is trying to make sure we don't have a lot of room to take food with us from place to place.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure we don't cook too much and use what we have gotten. Which it worked out great the first stop. I'm a little more worried about this one. I feel like there's more in the fridge. I'm worried about both sides. I feel like we're gonna have too much left and not enough to get through Friday all at the same time.
but yeah, we got some plans in place.
If you get like a small air fryer, it is a lifesaver. I just learned to cook with the air fryer, and all you have to do just pick up whatever meat, and any kind of meat, it gets cooked within 20 minutes at the most.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we've kept an eye out for, but we're not sure if it fits.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
that's the issue right now, is can we actually take it from place to place?
Yeah.
We've made some steps to streamline stuff fitting, because we ended up buying beach chairs because we were in Florida and apparently needed beach chairs.
Yeah, the first day I was like on Facebook Marketplace, I was like, here are $5 beach chairs. We're gonna enjoy the beach for this month. So
Yeah. Are you
Yeah.
doing like some kind of gas? Like how much it's gonna cost you financially?
We had pretty good budgetary habits. I think that's a word. I'm using it. That before we started.
Uh-huh.
So that's continued. And one of the things that, especially as long as we find the right places to stay, we've actually found that in most cases it should be cheaper than staying in Nashville was.
Yeah.
Because obviously rent is pretty much a 1-for-1 thing there, but now we aren't having to pay utilities. So when you kind of balance that out, it's obviously then you have to deal with gas from place to place. But because we're not going to a different spot every weekend, it shouldn't be all that crazy.
yeah.
From there.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So I don't know
How
if
much
you guys
we spend on Saturday, I guess. Other last question, or do you have something you wanted to go over?
No, really. I just want to say thanks for hopping on, and then mention that we're about to kick off the 45-day challenge for the members, first week of March. So not this Friday, but next Friday, we'll have kind of the welcome party to get everybody start networking, and then there will be different events each week. So stay tuned for more info.